Success in the NBA is incredibly situational, and depending on a variety of factors around you and the team you play for, you can either be set up for success immediately or be held back a bit because there are others ahead of you in the pecking order. Teams in win now mode will likely have a few established stars already performing to the best of their abilities, so players that are climbing up the ranks have to wait their turn to be able to play their game to the fullest and have a system built around them, instead of playing within an already established system built around other players. When these players do go to a new situation more suited for them, we've seen several examples of players break out in a big way, such as Pascal Siakam stepping into the lead role after Kawhi Leonard left this year, Malcolm Brogdon stepping out of Giannis's shadow in Indiana this year, and many more. So for today's video, we'll be discussing 5 players that, if given the opportunity to have bigger roles on teams, would show off some serious star potential. But before we start, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player up on this list of guys that I believe could take a big step forward on a team or in a system where they were given a bigger role is Fred VanVleet of the Toronto Raptors. VanVleet is one of the biggest feel-good stories in the league over the years, as he began his career undrafted without much hope of even making a roster, and now has a ring, played amazing basketball on the biggest stage, and has shown steady improvement every year. 2 years ago, he was a finalist for the 6th Man of the Year award, despite not really boasting big numbers in the box scores, because his poise on the ball, the way he ran the second unit, and his efficiency in doing so helped the Raptors have one of the best second units in the league that year. The next year, he was given more minutes and even started about half the games he played, saw his numbers across the board increase, and capped it off with an incredible NBA Finals series where he notably played great defense on Steph Curry, knocked down several big-time shots, and in the closeout Game 6, he scored 22 points to help seal Toronto's first ever championship. Now, this year, he's been promoted to being a full-time starter, and surprise surprise, his production has taken yet another big leap, up to 18 points and 7 assists per game so far, while shooting the ball 40% from 3. He's been a big reason the Raptors haven't fallen off nearly as hard as many thought they would after losing both Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to free agency, but he's still just the team's third option on offense, and only a secondary playmaker most of the time alongside Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam. I believe that if Fred was on a team where he could freely run the offense, he would be pushing 20 points a night and still dishing out a ton of assists. He's such a smart basketball player out on the floor, and as he showed in the finals, is someone who isn't afraid of the moment and can make a ton of big-time plays. VanVleet's time may be coming soon actually, as Kyle Lowry only has 1 more year on his contract, and if the team doesn't re-sign him in the offseason, then Fred will be able to step into the lead guard role and flourish. Next up on this list of guys whose games would benefit greatly in a system more catered towards them is Jalen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Since Brown has arrived in Boston, the team has been near the top of the Eastern Conference standings in the hunt for a title, and while most young players would be stunted being thrown into the fire in situations like this, Brown actually answered the call and elevated his game nicely early on. The jump he made from year 1 to year 2 was so large that people at the time started comparing him to Paul George, with his playstyle and the similarities in their games on both ends of the floor. Then year 3 happened, and he seemed to take a step back individually, so the comparison stalled. But to be completely honest, almost everything about last year's disappointing Celtics team was dysfunctional, so I find it hard to blame Brown for his struggles when the team as a whole just wasn't clicking. Now, this year, in a new revamped Celtics team without Kyrie Irving or Al Horford, but with Kemba Walker coming in, the team looks to be back to playing fun, smart basketball, and Brown himself looks better than ever. He's averaging about 19 points per game while shooting a highly efficient 50% from the field, and a solid 37% from 3. In many ways, he's already developing into a young star player, but the thing is that on the Celtics right now, he's only the team's third and sometimes fourth option. Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum have the team's 2 highest usage ratings, and then Brown's is 3rd highest, but Gordon Hayward's usage is very similar. Brown, while not as much this year, but it has definitely been a theme with him in years past, has had a tendency to kind of just disappear during games because he doesn't get involved as much as he probably should. He has all the makings of a two-way player that can put out 20 points on a nightly basis, but Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum are such high-volume guys. Up next on this list of guys that could be legit stars in bigger roles is Montrezl Harrell of the Los Angeles Clippers. Montrez is another guy who definitely wasn't expected to be anything near as productive as he's become over the years, but beat the odds and is now thriving on one of the best teams in the NBA. He was a 2nd-round pick in 2015 by the Rockets, and early on struggled to find time off the bench. When he did play, his monstrous athleticism was one of the things that was always on display, and his finishing at the rim was definitely his biggest asset, but he wasn't consistent enough to earn permanent minutes. When he got traded to the Clippers in the Chris Paul trade, though, the opportunity was there to carve out a role, and he did that and more. Since his arrival in LA, he's ascended to becoming one of the very best bench players in the whole NBA, and a regular in the 6th Man of the Year award race. Last year, he averaged about 17 points while shooting an incredible 62% from the field, mostly because he's such an unstoppable force in the paint and finishes strong above the rim. If given the opportunity to dunk the ball, Harrell will take it, and it doesn't matter if there's a defender in his way. His best work is also done in the pick and roll, operating with his fellow bench player teammate Lou Williams, which actually brings me to my next point. Harrell is legitimately one of the best bench players in the NBA, yet isn't even the best bench player on his own team, because Lou Williams has established himself as the best of the best in that regard. On the Clippers, he's outshined not only by Lou, but now by 2 legitimate superstars in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. He still gets his, but I strongly believe on another team where he not only starts, but gets more touches, he would be a 20-10 guy easily, and one of the most productive bigs in the league. The thing is though, the point of this video isn't necessarily to say that they should be traded, because Harrell probably prefers winning, and on the Clippers, he's in a great spot. But what I am saying is that if he were to be in a bigger role elsewhere, he has the potential to flourish individually. Up next on this list for discussion is Spencer Dinwiddie of the Brooklyn Nets. Dinwiddie is another guy on this list who, early on, was a bit of an afterthought, and it wasn't until he was given an opportunity with the Nets that he started to develop into a legitimate contributor. He's been in the 6th Man of the Year race in recent years because the offensive punch he brings off the bench has been a major key to the Nets' success both last year and this year. Last year, he was behind D'Angelo Russell at the point guard position when Russell made his first All-Star game, and now this year, he's behind Kyrie Irving at the position, but Irving's missed over half of the team's games this year due to injury, so Dinwiddie has been the team's starter, and as a result, we're seeing why he belongs on this list. On the year as a whole, Dinwiddie is averaging 21 points per game, but since Kyrie got hurt and he got put in the starting lineup, he's been averaging 24 points and 7 assists per game. He does tend to be more of a scoring combo guard in many ways, but that assist number and the overall way he's been playing in recent weeks tells me that he could definitely be the lead guard on a team and produce at a high level. When Kyrie Irving comes back, he's obviously going to be the priority of the team because he too is one hell of a player, but Dinwiddie could be an interesting trade piece as the deadline approaches. And finally, the last player we'll discuss in this video is Derrick White of the San Antonio Spurs. White seemed like yet another hidden gem the Spurs uncovered last year when he broke out in the postseason and gave the team great minutes on both sides of the ball, including a 36-point game in Game 3 against the Nuggets. He's a quick guard that shoots the ball well from the perimeter and plays good defense, and after starting almost every game for the team last year and playing well in the postseason and getting selected to play with Greg Popovich for Team USA in the World Cup this summer, it seemed like White was destined to break out even more this season, yet for some reason, he has an even smaller role than before. He's playing less minutes per game this year, has started less than half of the games he's played, but yet he's scoring the same amount of points and shooting the ball better. This Spurs team has been kind of a disaster in many ways, and it feels like some trades will be made soon in order to either try to salvage the season or turn their focus towards building for the future. Whether that means White gets shipped out or players like DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge get sent elsewhere, White needs more involvement because his value all around isn't being maximized. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below any other role players you believe would thrive in a bigger role. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.